malungil total mergi terogui mal klobog leungil kotolurion mergi terogui maral masaula Dios Raul maral gora degim sabalu mang gora be mo be esau de sued el tool bau de sued marngut mali ab esel week magada merenga sule la Palau Center for Healthy Living Inc. El ngi owner niya la sart metul el hoster gid el gire la kuk healthy lifestyle ergidra al sela blur belaw kadamlong al tangat tangul ba Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel el guest ergidra el altutaw ma choir adara ira el STA choir ma ruamel or ma elder REGINALD, Dr. HINDENBURG, matigal terul. Magadamal ngal tangater el altutan mlo sa ilo bangged, magadama omo tamo oy takla kaldel alitak kalmergit ogora elder REGINALD da mother siderang lungu momrek gidam omo la programmer gidelo banggela Dr. Marcel ma President Surangel Whipps Jr. el altutaw mo mal musulang kung mestri mel oy takla akal del elitak lelong alaw tarangut el altut silsa.
gonna cut some of this in. God sent His Son, they call Him Jesus. He came to love, heal and forgive. He lives and died to buy my pardon. How sweet to hold a newborn baby and feel the pride and joy he gives. But greater still, the Kalmasura, this child can face uncertain days because he lives. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know o dal mamal ngar mabulwan selo laba be klisi irang at mauto malungil tutayam gaman saul ate al masil sa matay maklangari edam tial sigang magmamangar alsel mal mo dar sabe krowul tangak mo dangas mabe klisi maklopkal at yogorga edam ling largaw miliu sel merablul adan merga mame edam agi ilbang le edam ra rowul el kloklem nyamin katmok raim logiu sel lomsela adel kangilum sang magi moldars melaka motelmal le bol sebe am rulit tial lontmam el direct lo moreng sarabul adrogir bom o masmama lom sama beklong tigay logio edawren iman merenga sulim terus kla presiden tinya dai toror mama adrelaw nyam lo sebele damal ngartial parte del altutau lo ngela doctor Gino ol sebele dama mo tigay logio edawren e bol relia parte tire edam iman merenga sulim mo oldang sarga edam medagi mol molma agi umrak masya tigi makma siya agi timbel ngay ngara sila rang meu tibon mo ba ang lungu makman mereng asule me oter klitang lungu mau suwe sarul kantmam tiyon ngitengil nganak lang algem di Jesus nga vital edaw lo subala amen
Malmasaw tigal brothers and sisters gidara STA choir rai el adibas kuma masiselbung egi ku potomu la programmer gidalo bangela Dr. Marcel ma President Surangel Whipps Jr. Mada almutal malungil tutaw tigel guklo sab ilo bangyadar el al tutaw marmo o meso orang sertiara uriula ekadamrenga sulela Eco Paradise 87.9 el mlo sab el lingal lo bangyad el sheratial malungil ais el girela lifestyle ma helder git magatangal-tangat ngal lo bangyadar el al tutaw Dr. Marcel kung masa president tergit el ngiya mo o translator ang karubak el while introduce rangay git el okyakar git el al tutaw
Sulang Jennifer kotrule malungil tutal morabek lader belaw kita mal ngartiar al tutaw mal di ogyon tila ya siya ngartiar uk translate o ay sertial ungil ais timle mitran kal toktan al tutaw ase kitsel dosa da her den gel tial rangalela badenget mul de swed ma exercise gid tial ngira ngira de lomesera rangalela badenget magdaman mira sulela Palau lifestyle ing Nasar ma grupo ni nangal toktang al merbelo angal Dr. Marcel ga medical doctor internal medicine a background ri mara school Howard University momrega mara Lomalinda ngilo a schooler kaltoktang mleongora ara asel internal medicine ara material residence ra uk Lomalinda momregarse emlo sotror gira la tora international health nga abatoga appointment rima dira sedra sem atara blaria uk mle or sel tora public health at Andrews University, which I went to school at for a while, so you were there, doctor. And dira la faculty tiale Manto Morelos University health sciences from 2000 to 2012 nga tia tira school sa badong ngara ablura a Mexico mga sila ablura amregel dira kan mora ikra ablura amregel uri reseng lo medical director sa Lifestyle of America tiang olsia karara uk seldom karara den stial rangalela badengela malmol mang ngarse el blura Philadelphia no toca urere resel gamlo health sar sel el blura Philadelphia mungo sera uk tretela community health ma promotion or say uri reseng el al time nga awal longar arsel tora augurul maluben health degal tora tial maklala bdingen sel daseng general conference Aruba Salvador ablul af ngar Washington DC namo e ragal ngar se igidel lurior mo malt marud uk nos el melding igidel lang uk share klum el tutao.
I say, Sulange President, it's an honor to have you, Dr. Marcel. So I'll give it to you and share with us your insights about healthy lifestyle and what us as islanders can do to eat healthy and stay healthy physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and our spiritual journey.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Tutal, good morning. See, I can even translate that.
Yeah.
Did it sound all right?
Yes.
Sound Palau.
All right. Well, you know,
He said good morning.
well, you know, I was actually born in the islands myself, not in these islands, but on the other side of the world, in the Atlantic. I was born in Trinidad, and I was raised for the first few years in Trinidad, and then the United States, and then all over the world. So.
Caribbean, vital side Atlantic, el blura Trinidad,
and it is a privilege to be with you here, to share with you, and to have such distinguished individuals at my side who will be translating for me and helping me to communicate to the people. Yeah, I wish I could speak the language, but this is so difficult. I speak 3 languages, and I speak a 4th language. That language is love, all right? And maybe that doesn't need any translation.
Mase ngedel bengela to ase gal melgo endi atinga adriabol sebek disel longewang al gunole to gora beltige rengam.
So you know, I have the first time I came to Palau was in 2002. And I came a few times after that, and then had a hiatus, and then started to come back again. I think it was in 2016. Yeah, and then we had the unfortunate issue with the pandemic. And so I'm glad to be back again. And this time, my wife is with me. This is her first time in Palau. And she's like me. She loves it. She loves the people. So my job, my fortunate job, is to go around the world and spread good news. Now, of course, the good news of the gospel is the greatest good news, but I also spread other good news, and that's the good news that there is hope in this life. Yes, and we all can live better than we are living right now. Some of it has to do with what is happening in modern society that's depreciating our good life. Yeah, today has become very complicated. And you know, over the years, as I have been coming to Palau and reading about Palau, I realized that life in Palau has also become very complicated. You have all kinds of forces that are acting on you, and you understand this because of your position. So some years ago, when I was here, I had the fortune to meet with the health ministry.
sa seragaram na morak me telegal madura ministry gidra hel.
And they were having a Micronesian health council.
Emlari meeting ra telal dabera ayun sirgida Micronesia
And they invited me to speak, to give a presentation. It was about an hour long.
Matil lingitangan mo mga adul gora ngara talsigang gora amsadara tretelela heldrit.
And what I presented at that time was about what we call the blue zones.
Ma sel tama golo ay sel do sen gel gora tomdo sen bulul tanam mo sen malamaul basyo malubang.
Yeah, and I don't know if any of the listeners know about the blue zones, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's basically the countries around the world where they have the largest number of people who live to 100 years or more.
May ayeda do sen gora malamal el basyo malubang zones. ay el bulul liqra bulul adr el tamil ngari adr le qotar btoqar adr keni le ngalaqra dar tarakrir.
Yeah, and at that time I was challenging the people of Micronesia. Why isn't there a blue zone in this beautiful blue water? So there are some things that make the zones so-called blue. And much of it has to do with how we live. Now, what's fascinating is to look back and see how the people of Palau used to live. The simpler life of planting some taro and eating from the ground and fishing and getting the exercise and the fresh air and the sunshine and having a relatively carefree life.
Kadamalan magaled malan ma adait engara kada undo le kada ayida activity rid sea egora ne de galsal toka mga sangaw do swed sea mlewil klangar mang asedra se mlewila au guruled malobang wila helderid.
So it's interesting to see that in the evening, as the sun goes down, the number of cars on the street diminish, and people go to bed relatively early.
Seloral mo milgol marad mo mosamdal ngara rael erada mom iwayo.
But I suspect that even though they might be indoors, they're not going to sleep. They might be watching Netflix or something like that and staying up late anyway.
Diga da kadokora se tela amre mo mewara adara blur belandi adakal selwa seller am ngara blire lo sa Facebook ma Netflix ma.
So now I don't know that for sure, but I suspect that that's what's going on. Right. And when I was here the last time, we did a little survey as to what people eat, and they were eating more things that were out of cans than eating fresh things.
Unaria gregre gora survel dereli gadunam tigel wasea bay betol galla ngara bead donga raigel niadi sedro sending ara ser se malu ngara gargel mera ablating fresh.
I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
I have.
Is that your Netflix or?
No, it's not my Netflix. It's my emergency phone number.
They talk about the blue zones on Netflix.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me just get this off.
Maral toy president, maral ligel gora simple, maral dolan magalet, ngara esen maral sel ngel telasit, maral mom gasamla dia ka pai dia ka to de insured tial ngel telasit selwase ngai ga rogo remi del mail maknitel mail maral ego kum refresher ko mamma the swam. I'm just repeating that yes, we do take things for granted, and yes, when it's such a beautiful sunset, and especially when the ocean is so calm, and the mirror, and less people are not enjoying the beauty of it. So I'm saying that when the sun sets, sometimes I would be exercising and I said, Lord, just take away all the negative energy and let it go with the sunset. Yeah. So I think we should do that more often.
I think that would be very healing.
Yes.
Additionally, when you have rain, that my wife was saying, your rain comes unannounced and it leaves unannounced.
I see. Kasi malang tatar belal ngania ul tel belu deglo ay sigide me deglo ay sigide marael.
But the rain actually produces some negatively charged ions. It have a positive and negative charges, have negative charges, and those actually are health promoting.
Kasi klotutula ulang anegel tila dagal sekal translate negative ions ang anegel ra
magnitel ding ako am titulo loliu der tial ions.
The chemicals
ruli mang mo ngirigit.
So there's no reason why you shouldn't have a blue zone here.
But
it will require making some changes.
Yeah,
and the issue of living long may not be the greatest goal that we should look after. Yeah, so I visited the hospital. I haven't visited the hospital this time, but the last time I was here, I visited the hospital, and to see all the people who are suffering.
Será tarak meak plur hospital el altam diriak pon di será taral meng loras el hospital Mr. Trier betokon mal warm.
And I met with one of the government officials, and they told me how many people they have to send off island to get treatments. I'm sure that is very costly. And the cost may not just be dollars. The cost is in human life. You're separated from your family. It causes turmoil. So sickness is an enemy. Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, God provided us with a remedy, if you will, a menu of things that if we were to follow these, we would do much, much better. So we had the pandemic. And I can ask, did the pandemic affect Palau?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it a significant effect, or was it just mild and people could go around doing what they were doing before?
So for most of the time, we were able to do everything that we needed to do. The difference is that we had closed to the outside world, so people could not come in.
So people could not come in, right?
Yeah, and it was very restrictive for people to come in. And slowly we opened up, got vaccinated, got prepared, and then we opened. And then when it was community spread, it was in about 60 days. It was
gone. Oh, all right. Well, your country did much better than many around the world. We saw in the United States millions of deaths that overwhelmed the healthcare system.
Yeah. Pandemic, hospital
and the big cities were hard hit.
maringnak.
Because the lifestyle in the big cities is not the simple lifestyle of a rural, seafaring area like Palau.
Maral siya ang ngara klol matching di kalwa ngara gigreliun sel medradabe sedra sing di ka sal ka seged.
But still, any death and any suffering was not the original plan for human beings.
Kita mesa rugurak ma alubang ongar mel botesis bria sedim lakal niya au desuratio semergit.
Yeah, and what has happened, and I'm sure it's happening in Palau as well, is that we have other influences that are essentially corrupting our societies around the world.
Ngaregel betol asedra sing motigay ngare krel belal mesoism elwalo ol malara klangare gitar aderbel.
You know, young people, ever since the beginning, I would assume, have always been a little bit mischievous, right?
Saya migrela da triple mischievous. Asedra set
They do things outside of the edge, right? Right.
Yeah.
All right. So you know, not exactly in line. All right.
Tukura triple de kalsal mal mal tomrolil asedra set
Dirigam su.
But when that is complicated by the use of drugs and alcohol, it takes it to another level.
Di sel sumu mesois ba tora makit الغار مالو بين عملي من روم إيه نموت الوال البول لو أودور سل كلارتير.
And young people, you know, we used to say young people are the future. Well, we have had to change that. Young people are the present.
Ngaramo da se trigal ngaliget triga kluguk di lang baygira dal da se triga el alsils.
They're here, and they have an impact on what goes on in every society.
Tangar tiarela ngaria arelli lungil mamakitan mura angidil bulun ngar alsil.
So we have to create societies where we have safe havens for our youth.
Ngirel ngaria alsel abulun ngira ngaria da se tangar alsel sel bakla.
Where young people can grow up with the freedom of being young and alive and not have to worry about some of these other influences like, you know, the drugs and the alcohol and so on.
Ngiril sirkil aljablul mimokle roid rayelnia amkitel longitigay galwa amkitel gar ma rom
And you know, responsible adults like yourselves who have been through the issues of life are role models really for the young people. But we have to engage the young people, even in our families, and even if they're not part of our immediate family. I have found out that so many people here in Palau, they're related. Everybody's related to everybody. And what happens in one family in the community actually affects the whole community. So when we look at the good news of health, we're looking at health in a multidimensional way. As you were saying earlier, right? It's holistic health. The health of the family is a very important aspect of this. Yeah, the health of couples, the health of parents and children, the health of neighbors, all affect the well-being of the entire society.
Seluk global tigre nga nato nila adal el tira gautonari ay ga rogo ya motmage irule ungil el blue de kera al selma ungil lo el sel ngari arngalge e mogorol.
Yeah, and these things sometimes people take them for granted.
Del bebera time gaba kadora dio di bio tarngu drin toy.
But they're very, very important for the well-being of everyone.
Ding mal misen moklo to trel girela ungil klara bekla.
And part of the solution for misbehaving young people or misbehaving older people too is actually coming back to understand that we're people of dignity.
Matara ok sedra sing gurul malubang sedrulia al mortriel tira atium tetu akl alangalgiad magid maklolat mom da seguida atogu betsel blebele la dios umra la sing.
Yeah, we need to know who we are.
Ngira del mom da seguida kada ta.
We are people who are created in the image of God.
كده من يتمق الولبيوب الأوتيلا adios.
And the provision that has been made by God for us is immense. It's unmeasurable.
مثل نيام لاغوت مكليا adios الجيراد أديك السيد الملبوض بوريني.
And you know, somebody doesn't have to be necessarily overly religious to understand who they are in Christ.
ndega da sen gire druk mali misel pastor gada el mom dengel wa sen ara sel el krungela baltigere ngara Dios el mergid malu be Jesus el mergid ado mangela Jesus.
And when we understand that we belong to the Creator Himself, made in His image, it will help us to not have to do some of the things that we think.
Sel bodon seguida ambral ngalga Dios se volvió el waingi en ngogid el moro de regel dom dos sen gire del moro.
Because we have an enemy who is trying to pull us away, but God is stronger and He can pull us towards Himself.
Ngari arara el sual de mur seguida el moro de diga me sea Dios mur seguilo el gedri. MCC era ngal araro.
So as I go around the world, many people when they hear this, they believe it might be too good to be true.
Sel tomberger tia klum era bebir omra se tela dakal se del omra ni tolang ahmal ungil toy mga tikal se del mal omra ni toy.
But what convinces them usually is when they see somebody else whose life has been changed.
Di sel maral sel ruler tirar adal momrang sel sak langara adal mlamongodo.
I mean, time and time again, people say, this guy, if you know what he was like when he was a child.
Sel do adal se ngemle wangara sel gegar el bui el ang wangarang seguida asel maral.
I would never have believed that he would grow up to be such a fine, dignified person.
Kita mal di madagaligi dem gado ase mal de ase dromra se ngam la bul taklari el mosed el tarad el mal do ngulringi umrari.
But God is able to do that in anyone. Nobody is outside of His sphere of influence.
Kita me ase Dios dia ngare krel sel ngia sel oitegi a Dios el meltiak langara.
Yeah. So we are His witnesses.
Kita shoningari.
And we ought to recognize that we are ambassadors for the truth. How we live is going to affect how other people will see God. And how we relate to each other influences what image people have of God, because God loves the unity within the believers, among the believers.
Se lo mesra tetele del el mage kaukledam malum kada bli se angire lo silo mesri ara adam adios a soal sel kaltarren adrongale gidel low marani.
Yeah, as I go around the world, there are a lot of isms.
A lot of isms.
Isms, words that end in this. Yeah. So we have racism and tribalism, and people from regions, right? If you come from the east, then not so good. If you come from the west, then that's better, right? And the east and west have a problem, or the north and the south. It's all over the world.
مثل Southern Europe tel Toraism, walo liak rido hasikaduk ngauk other say mga other say ay goro omir gida malo maliak rid.
So some people, it might be color of the skin, it might be the shape of the eyes, it might be the kind of hair, it might be tall, short. We mess the whole thing up.
No, mga ariam toak mar magigade mar adargel mar beleleu. And
so when God is in the life of people, then these things disappear.
And
others looking on, they say, wow, how could it be that these two who were enemies, right? They're now working together. They love one another. It's amazing. And that's by the grace of God and by His power. And if we are willing to yield to this, we can transform any society to a blue zone. So maybe you have some questions for me that I might be able to answer.
You mentioned about raising, how to raise our kids. I just want to share with you a quote, a Palau quote, and it translates into English that it takes a community to raise a child. So I believe what you have said and share, it's not that we're not doing. I believe we're doing it, but like you mentioned, we have to go back to our
earlier days. Yes.
And I think it's very important that we go back to the earlier days, because when my mom started asking me to help her with her farm, and I realized that it's a lot of hard work. I mean, a lot of hard work. And so, in fact, I stayed up till 2 o'clock cooking this Polynesian Tahitian chestnut. And the longer you cook it, the tastier it gets. So I cooked it for 10 hours and I was done by 2 this morning. And I only slept 3 hours and I'm here. But, you can tell the difference when you eat your own food, local food that you planted, and you feel good.
Yes.
But there's a lot of people who are sick now because I think we've abandoned our food, local food that is healthy, and turned to, canned foods, imported foods. And so
highly processed
foods, highly processed food. So my question to you is, there's a lot of diabetes, hypertension in Palau, and a lot of cancer. And I truly believe what you said. I believe there's a real big negative force in our island. And I would like to ask, how can we heal our land and our people and our leaders, and so we can unite and be able to be humble and listen to each other? Everybody, it's about, power struggle. And so, when you hear this, I get emotional because the people suffer. So what can we do to revive our people? They become healthy, we become united, we become loving, and respect. It's not, I think some of our leaders, they lead by their emotions, their feeling, and they forget, and the people are abandoned. So, with we're honored to have you, and I'm so impressed with what I read about your resume. And you've been around the globe. How can you help us? What can be your message to our people and our leaders and our present young generations that we would like to really set the course and go in the right direction?
I will try.
Sorry, I'm so emotional.
No. I am moved by your testimony. And this we see with caring people in every land. There are people who are very desirous of having a better life, better community, a better way of doing things. And it's not beyond our reach, and maybe I can share a little bit about what we do.
So sumosem sulang Jennifer sel nia au da suman mal local tigereng el kirera araat rebelao sel rongomel songa bolongil tello seklo to trel mun so algora dimo ai segel el kama mlam logolo hase gasino mang sugal mondara drongolen aya oite travel wa dangara igel gora sel mosherel ko sugidera hase.
Yes, so the first issue is that any change starts with me.
Mangidil momoda agire lomur regit.
Yeah. So for the people who are listening,
Yeah.
right? It starts with you.
Ngamilo reng ngomur gaw.
Don't you desire something better?
Kawan dia kalsoma almu tulungin.
And if you do, then you are on the right track already.
Ya sum saya so me kamla mali selom rolem.
Okay. The second issue is that there are means of being able to change.
Ngania asedlo giwi ngania asedlo tirakla el ngoyidel el multisel kidang aral sel.
First, you have to be aware that there's a change that needs to happen.
Ngirem gotrul ngiram da seng ngirem ngaria modo.
Then you have to believe that a change is possible.
Ngirem nom da se tial momloda asedlo el gut mukli.
We all need to realize that we have a choice in the matter.
Ngaria cliché del melil trosen soda ngatit.
And sometimes we know something, but we don't do it. There's a big gap between what we know to do and what we do.
Mal chloride cell kidam dangera seng gira del meruri mesel doruri.
And I am sure that what I'm saying affects everyone who's hearing, because this is something that is common to human beings all around the world.
Ese tela other roga de osisir toala al bangaril el ligayidel.
Yeah. So part of it is knowledge, but the other is getting the power to do what we really know we should be doing.
Magoteng ser clouding idro aseng kadam dengel waset tegirel waye ngrasel ungiral girdangari di selongero girdro experience klisi el morulisel.
And I don't want to make it sound as though it's very simplistic, but that power comes from God. But oftentimes, that power is manifests itself by having companions, a friend or someone who you know, who is going to show you that there is a better way.
Ma baby rata meng ser klisi angar baby arsalith el lolisa krigidra imora treta.
Not with condemnation, right? Not with pointing out their faults or anything like that, but saying there is a better way, and not that I have it all, but I just started this path before you did.
Matrigagi del salida adegal mel walong rorgit temel lo ay se selomro lo se agim lam urti alomro lam estegi agim ral budulngi sil shoning el mergit.
And for some people, they're just not sick enough.
Di beberatama beberida ndirda sal smer ndirda sa sel lo sega dos peanges.
Now I don't know how much more time we have, but maybe I can share a story.
The time is yours.
Okay, so we were living in one of the states in the U.S. Actually, we were living in Georgia at this time.
Agim lekira blura Georgia abrom regen.
Right, and we used to shop in Tennessee.
Momara agelgi mospe
Which is
blura Tennessee.
The neighboring state. All right.
Ya sel ukti state el librega de blura Georgia.
And because of some family issues in Florida, my wife had to make a trip to Florida, so I was left with the boys. We have 3 sons.
Mang nari agora kumledilo para tulungan kram asana kam mlegirel mora blura Florida eli takam dinga kam trigal tedel ngaligal sa alang arablay.
All right. Now, so our oldest son, he was married at the time, so he was living in Oregon.
Ngil ko toklo ngalam sala Oregon na bil mkiera blura Oregon.
Our second son was in university.
Ngil ngeron ngam ngara school rataya.
And our youngest son, he was at home.
Ngil ko tingirel ngam makila bongge.
So, you know, mom is everything, right?
Nigim amna se adil ngia rogu rablay.
But okay, so mom is going, so this is now the man's home, right?
Namra la adil digam sa alang arablay.
All right. Now, I know how to cook. And I promised my son, when mom is gone, I'm going to make you something special.
Kwa tim dul mru la gal lama tilurang lagi kalau se lora la dalam kita ngarea to bet sel bodorul galet.
And he was looking forward to it, right?
Ngawa male sambriare masih.
So I decided I was going to make him a very special Korean dish.
Malgok ma kalau sek momru rakora to bet sel gal rakora el galel.
And we didn't have all of the ingredients at home.
Magim no siga gal dos pel mru la tel galen song ngarea.
So we went to Tennessee.
Magim blura Tennessee.
To a market that we knew.
El moratara abla otro la gal.
To be able to buy the things that we needed.
El momara gal ligimos pe.
Okay. So we get into the market, and there was only one other person in the store besides the owner.
Magi mortel store ngadi ngari adi imol adal ngar alsel mangal lo store tel store.
The store was stocked with everything.
Tel store tegadi busri.
But only one person in the store.
Edi mo okyagar alsel.
I thought, this is strange.
Tegora mal ngodal to.
Now, we had visited that store a few times before.
Ngari sesel time ruwe gimlo dinger tel store.
And I used to talk to the owner.
Akplol mo durong galo store tel store.
But I hadn't been there for several months.
Dimla mo tel albul der po.
But I was thinking, this is odd. All of this stuff and the stuff she had to go, you know, about 50 miles away to get the fresh things to bring to the store, and only one person in the store.
Kasi umesegal dia kalau di selagal lama. Ekpne kasi ngara ogimel mala iridel lom kalin mumlay geluk mal fresh galle ngara alsasta. Hindi mo masasasta hindi mo adang ngara alsel.
So I go down the various aisles, picking up the things that I needed.
Makmaral lo malaygel gimam ospel mo bulaygal kalam.
But there were some things I wasn't sure of.
Di ngari ako ra dimlaksal.
So I asked her, I want to make the rara, right? So should I use the this or the this?
Mawina siya murura darara.
Yeah. And she says, use this one, it's better. Next thing, where is the so-and-so? You know, where are the cucumbers? She says, oh, it's on aisle 3. So I conversed with her a little bit, you know, where are things? And then finally I go to the checkout counter. And I ask her, how are things going with the store? She says, well, it's okay. I said, but I don't see a lot of people in your store. She says, that's just how it is. Now, I'm a doctor. I help to solve problems. I'm also an administrator. I like to fix businesses. Right? I'm also a professor. So I like to teach people how to do things. Right? So I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, you could really do a lot here.
Magumesing kasi tial sto albaong. Ngari siya malurulir tiya.
Now, there's a Korean restaurant, very well patronized, close by where this store is.
Ngari store agora restaurant Korea likme der tegi del store. El mal seger tokaro kya.
And people of all kinds come to that restaurant.
Bek podeng ira ada mor tegi del blablungur.
And they have a board with advertisements. People put their cards and their little flyers for other Korean things in the area.
Kasi mangari agora aigale bulletin board era ada mala agora advertisement tertir girela claro agora yan claro agora ngartial.
But there's no advertising for her store.
Detail store ngal masa deka advertisement ring.
I said, have you advertised at the restaurant?
Ngul gani kasi kamla ngari ako blam ngul molera sel blablungur.
She says, no.
Ngosendia.
I don't want to have to make a flyer and all that stuff.
Ngosendia kal sokal mru ra papere emro usri malubak kurulaila.
Okay, I thought that's strange. So I said, so do people come in and ask you questions about how to make this kind of meal or that kind of meal?
Ngase mga arad seleme togera kora se mga dorur tiagi del yori mga dorur tial imura yori adang.
She says, yes.
Ngase oy.
So I said, so why don't you advertise in the newspaper, right? And have some cooking classes.
Ngase mundi kamang uka motabdira simbung lo ase ga baisem lo sisakra adal murula akal.
Yeah.
El me.
If they come and they learn how to prepare Korean dishes, they will buy the material from your store.
Mabol mudu murula igal yori ra adara korea etmo mara akal tel store ko.
She says, that's too much work.
Ngase tiamal bring order.
So I said, okay. I mean, have you run specials on the things that you have in the store? Because if people don't buy it, it will go to waste. It's fresh food, it'll go to waste.
Ngase magel uk igal imada lagala Maria time look mo lang taaral mo bolsuri ra adlo arm malakal mo oita.
She says, to run a sale, I have to increase the price and then reduce the price so that nobody knows it's a...
Sentiya man bringil giri kalong ngose aral o tangalim man bringil.
By this time, my son is nudging me, Dad, let's go. So I paid for my things and I wished her well. And we drove off. But it hit me as we were driving out of the parking lot. I had to stop and teach my son something. I said, you know what is wrong in that scenario that we just had? She is not hungry enough. And he said, what do you mean she's not hungry? I said, if she were hungry, she would do the things that are needed to be able to eat. But what she's doing is everything is so easy, she puts no extra effort. The same thing happens with people's health. Many people aren't sick enough. Everything is going okay. My blood sugar is a little bit high, well, no problem. My blood pressure is a little bit high, no problem.
Blood pressure, high blood,
right? Yeah, it's not a problem. Until, with the blood pressure, they have a stroke.
High blood,
right? And then they're paralyzed.
Lamom itu tabitarte.
And now they say, let me do something about my blood pressure.
Mutamlam lo da se makale kamada message high blood na.
Sometimes it's already too late,
Lamom ya kadana mom.
right? Or the blood sugar. Yeah, it's okay, it's okay. I eat what I want, I drink what I want, no problem. It's just a little bit of blood sugar.
Lamma se kada mol masawade mga sawade.
Until they have to go to the hospital,
Kadamara hospital.
and the doctor says you need dialysis because your kidneys aren't working.
Mela kadamara hospital at kumulida se elang giram momsil.
And you say, what can I do? What can I do?
Mela ko gira se elak makarang.
The doctor says, pray that you get a kidney.
Ya, tokta se molulu umbol se mwa imora agidni.
We only have space for 30 people.
Ndi ode sil misil.
And we have a waiting list that's 2 months long.
Ngari armil namo erul buil.
So now what?
Elak makarang.
They weren't sick enough.
Ndim lakal ser el mal sper mo.
But it's so much better if when we realize we are aware that there's a problem, that we take care of it then.
Sel bodo ngela sing telgibel kada telgibel mlamu urti rakt. Ese yeder gut mukli telgirel de kadongil.
And this is true for almost any aspect of life and any aspect of society, including political issues.
Ngasem tiaw si sura angidil tretala klangal molmutra tretala or tela government. Politics.
Yeah. Why wait until you have a clash when you can solve it before it becomes a problem?
Ngaram kami mo aklon monday mruri ngaram de kadil yagrel to kam sem akli.
Yeah. So it's on every level in society.
Tia ngara chak klangal ki tera bekil swadro gora di mere ma uri.
And by God's grace, we will learn quickly enough, and I'll give you a statement.
Ni ngong garasha radio segidal sedel mosubit tel mongodi aklangar gid mosedel lo mesin ngodo.
Yeah. In Pennsylvania, where I lived,
Sirakira Pennsylvania.
there are immigrants from Germany. They're called the Pennsylvania Dutch.
Ngari tegel mlara ablura adoiselme tomodor tilo ase the Pennsylvania Dutch.
And they live a very simple lifestyle,
Temal beot taklarete sel.
right? They still ride horse and buggy,
Tadriga magalaos
right? No, that means
mataklam lili.
their telephones, they don't have smartphones. They have phones that are made just for them that doesn't have internet connection.
Ngari adeng wartir ndi adeng wartira adega internet tri.
No, so it's a very interesting community. And their saying is this:
Sel lologori atagit.
we're too soon old and too late smart.
Kadamal amar adal mauwadala emal meyoda el momloms.
Right? We get old too quickly and we get smart too slowly.
Kadamal mari adal mauwadala emal meyoda el momloms.
Yeah, we get too old too fast
Too
because we're
fast.
stressed.
Yes, yes.
And then we
And
get
then we
smarter when we're in
When we're already
suffering.
in
Yeah, when we're suffering we get smarter, yeah.
So you mentioned about the people in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Dutch. I want to share. I met a very few Palauans, but this one lives in Ngaramlangui. He still uses firewood. He has 2 or 3 children. All he does is farming, and he's the bread and butter to the family. They have no TV, no power, no internet, not even a cell phone. But I admire this guy because when I went and ordered coconut from him for my sister in Guam to send, the money that I gave him, and then he went to my cousin's store. And when he went, he calculated his money. He bought all the needs for his kids. Rice, chicken, veggies. And then when he had little enough change, he said, "Yay, now I can buy my cigarette." No, but I admire this
Yes,
guy
yes, he
because
took care of the
his
most
family
important things
yes.
first. Yes.
And so I'm sharing this story, Dr. Marcel, because I think all of us have to do that. And, you know, to see him still using firewood to cook for his kids, to walk them to school. I mean, we don't see that anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, you're sharing the story, and what I got out of you is if you're stubborn, you're stone-hearted, and you cannot humble yourself, that's why we tend to clash.
Yes.
I think now that we're in the modern days and technology, we have become very, we've taken things for granted, and we think that it's all about status, power, and authority, that we can no longer sit and communicate. And like you mentioned, we need to sit, be able to resolve our issues.
So maybe we need to go back to long houses.
Yes. And to the blue zone.
To the blue zones, and where people can sit and just talk and be friends, working together. Yeah. Put aside our differences and work together, collaborate. Yeah.
And I see.
Yeah. We live longer, we live better. Any other question?
No. I know your president has a schedule,
Yes,
and I'm
yes.
sure you do. And we passed an hour, so president,
Well, thank you so much for the time. And we'd be willing, I would be willing to look at some specific interventions that we can do, because we do this all around the world, for reversing high blood pressure, reversing diabetes, helping women who have what we call the metabolic syndrome to be able to become fertile again. So there are things that we can do that are lifestyle based for being able to produce a better life.
Wala do batel tora sugal lo so bal merio al sum bla gaidele high blood rigid ngidro nga tri madrigal luxel ngidro nga sen ya rol mo sen mal sual le tono sera blu la del gidele gaidel al togol lo se gradol nga se gaige edo retirar dilmo abagarol.
Yeah, in 2002, one of your senators, a female senator, I don't remember her name, she said, we're very interested in your coming back to do this for the people of Palau, but it never materialized.
Oh, so 2002 Maria Audaso el tema sem dungun merbelau no se origida gaigit lurio.
Yeah, but I have not forgotten, and I will be willing to work on that.
Well, President is here, so hopefully he'll make it happen. So
Yes, that's why I was asked to translate.
Maybe.
Maluila program. Yeah. Definitely, we need to meet with the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
Before we close, Dr. Marcel, I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned about rather waiting till last minute and then get when you're really sick. If you can share that, you know, hypertension and diabetes, they tend to say it's in our genes or just because your mother or father has it. Can you share a little bit about
Yes,
that
yes.
before we close?
I'll be happy to.
Tablon Mogorado lo se gal high blood masugal ay gal ngara alsela kadi mel waisi.
All right. We can ascribe about 20-25% of the risk of diabetes and hypertension to things that we cannot change.
Nasa tarewa ay waitiu ara sedro sing ula sugal malum high blood la degal sedro sing adi mo iseleng badinga da waise.
Okay?
Dilo email ba sentry.
That means that 75 to 80% of the risk that we have are within our power to change.
Diesel tele del mosmer te rakta agud email ba center mora ogal ba cent amal ding argit.
Okay? So,
So
yeah. So we can't say for anybody you don't have to have diabetes or you don't have to have high blood pressure because it's reversible. We don't. If we say that, we're not being true.
내가 저들 무랑이 되다세 가다가 봄 수갈랭 나리아 때lemel 룰랄 모디야.
All right?
세대갈 말할 토에.
So we have to work with each individual, because for the individual, it may be 100% reversible for that individual, but not for the next person.
내가 아들 로고 오시시우. 디 그다음 내가 세 라다가 가로스 디 알춤 고르로 뭔게 아더스타마 아더스타라 나리아 아더스타르tir الدارت الباشنت السيل ديال
Right?
السيل ملتي ديال الطورة سوغال ما هاي بلاد.
So, for instance, the idea that if you have high blood pressure or you have diabetes, this is a lifelong process that you're just going to get worse and worse and worse. This is not true for the majority of people.
Masarap to isra rada amda sose gimnamo sugal gimnamo high blood hindi mrokol waise hindi rup to isra rada sil ngod iser klangaretir.
So we were just in Guam and had a professional conference with doctors from around Micronesia and Guam as well, essentially teaching them what the evidence is that diabetes is in fact a reversible disease.
Magidiriga mnara Guam mnara conference gidam tirar toktang mar adara gurul o ay saigel uk gidam la mesel statistics madeira lolis el wase tel tora sugal asad el melti man sungo da experience el moder da sharing.
And this is something that's transportable. We can do this and show the doctors, the nurses, the healthcare professionals not just what it is about, but how it can be done.
Tia sedel lo aisringi o sis akhringi ra ngidil belum mara.
So we hope our president can bring you back so you can help share that reversible on diabetes to our people and educate them on a healthy lifestyle.
Now you can say that, but I can't.
Well, he's here translating, so.
Diang waise Jennifer madamadi umrega mam sa ministra hel.
I see.
Ding diri malungil tel you know coming on the talk show, so we want to thank Jennifer and of course Senator Talams for allowing the time to be here to share, because this is also a great way to get out the message to the people.
Yes. And it's a privilege to be here with you.
Yes. And we thank Palau Health Wellness, Ms. Matul, for bringing you here. And by the grace of God, you're here, you're sharing. And I know that it didn't even feel like we've been over an hour or so, because, you know, it's a great message to our people. We have a lot of, you know, people in our community who has diabetes, hypertension, cancer, and then mental stress.
Yes.
You know, so you being here and you've been around the globe, I think you have the experience and the heart to really want to share what you know. And I think it's very, coming from you, speaking from the heart and sharing with us, I think has touched so many people in our community through the radio and TV. So thank you so much for your time.
It is really
and I
my
thank,
privilege.
yes, and I thank Ms. Matul for considering you and bringing you here. Although we've been over an hour, I know Janice and Sal and Senator Salvador will donate the other portion to to the community.
Okay.
Yes, so thank you. So we'll have them sing, and then Tasub and Malulu Miori. Okay. Ma komral masaulal mlosop miloreng se omesertiang etalutan ngun mastrira tigal bebirgidra IRI STA choir evol merege lolulu a amioril gidet swadal mutel merenga suli we mutel merenga suli ar adra eco paradise spider kamal masaul mlosop el linger tiang adios lolmon lomkal tanga tigidroguy mapalwat happy Constitutional Day.
Say Omngul mo thangsel borang klebe edamal Dios. Ya gimral marenga sule marel alsil sa amaral masaw Dios sa kamam. Gimral o nga sawe ko kala maral ngara alsilarang mamal wasay amaral masaw ang mame edam lego le mayo para kamam ro ko lokasyon. Magi maral ale ora ka adam. Maral masaw rabalo mame ramal maral ngaring abud aringi sa pamamal magisro ko yung ngalagay ngartel balo mam daswa ki morula momarula maral masaw rabalo mame ramal kego wi at ora alsel ratigingem magi imol balun matangel wasang ngaring ya Dios pati karong rigid Dios lulmayo rigid Dios lo makare rigid Dios lo also rigid Magi maral di oldang saraka adami marenga sule martel te al lo sab amamal me yuk mga ado asesil tokoy loki wangal toktangal kauldur klil me ma president tam tel timra tokora alitakla klangal tanga targa atamal bora pelur we law rokir marangal ke me adamal liliwe kartel belu mam bol sab amamal mo madangel wasay ngaringa Dios rayang dal dia ka sabael gida ale orngi roku ile ko dole peobel lingi aula meo bergid ul peobel osul engi abatti garung urgid motoru kliang algel me atarak klabsen me malargid al mokkera ungil belul dia ka godal dia ka sel dia ka maknitra al sel magi mal marenga saw le malo lingit tarqaw sab aklamam roku yam ngusukumam pol sab amame ramal ngwa Jesus al mora al sel aklangar ramam lenge ya osab aklamam ra roku tokoy agi maral di marenga sule me mal dol dang sargaw ol turgok lay ang lungo amale orqa lingit tarqa adamel Dios mabangga mamarokur el alsil sal mo basngey mga sumamal mo tarang ma me bol sa mamal ga ko lek imgay nga sewra dalong alam ay gaya ont ma me marenga sule ngarang klela dital edawal nga legem li Jesus lo sabalam amen